Hey everyone, we are back with another update video, and by we, of course, I mean with me as always is Corey. Say hi, Corey.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And for those of you who are backers of DaemonClaw, please stay tuned to the end of this video or check the description for a timestamp, because there will be special instructions for those of you backers who also might want to be testers to get access to the work-in-progress builds of DaemonClaw to be able to help us find bugs and give feedback and all that awesome stuff. So stay tuned for that. And now on to the actual update portion. So as you can imagine, we and NeoFid have been very mostly focusing on a huge amount of polishing and bug fixing and tweaking of gameplay to get the first ever playtest build ready of the Megadrive version that we're going to be making available through Steam for specific Kickstarter backers who volunteer to be testers. And that's actually what we have on screen right now. So this is the actual splash screen of the Megadrive version in the emulation wrapper that it's going to be using to be playable on PCs through Steam. And as you can see here, one thing actually that I don't think we ever talked about is that now when you use left and right for character select, we're actually changing the palette, at least one of the 16 color palettes, in order to make the color of his armor and hair different from the armor color of the star character Elric. So yeah, it was just another nice little touch we got to add that didn't take much time, but it just gives it more variety. And so yeah, aside from just fixing as many bugs as possible, optimizing some things, and tweaking some gameplay, we then had to synchronize with the people that will be publishing DaemonClaw on Steam, which is Pixel Heart, and actually getting a special page and the actual executable file to Valve, which is the parent company of Steam, to have that reviewed. So as we speak, both are up for review, so probably by the time I'm done editing this video and we put it out there, hopefully Valve will have had time to review and approve those. So in the very near future, by the time you're seeing this video, the backers who volunteer will actually be able to start playing and giving feedback. And this first demo has just the first level, the level 1 boss, but you could play not only as either character, but as we were hoping we would pull off, you can also play in, let me just show you quickly here what that looks like. But there's a tag team mode, so survival mode doesn't exist yet in this demo, nor does boss rush mode, but tag team mode does, and it works, and it's pretty cool. So there's basically in normal one-player game mode, there's an attack and a jump and a magic button, and then in tag team mode, the magic button actually swaps you out with the other character. And the cool thing is that you can play it as one player with one gamepad, and you just press the magic button and you swap out characters that you're still controlling with the same gamepad. But if you play with a second player with their own controller, if you tag out, they actually get to control the second character. So it's actual two-human player tag team mode playing the game, which is really cool.
And on the art side for Megadrive, I've been working a lot on the final level graphics. Well, and the boss before the final level. Basically, a lot of environment work has been going on, and it's looking really great. This is the more enjoyable side of the art for me personally, but I don't want to go into any spoilery details on that. But also, we've made massive progress on the print manual. I've been working on each page layout, and we've been going through color correction, print test sort of process, but it's coming along nicely, and it's looking really great. So we think you guys are going to love it.
Yep, absolutely. With the latest design tweaks, I can attest to that.
Yeah.
It's now looking really good, and basically Corey has been going through and starting to get pretty much the final version of each page. Obviously, it's always open to some more tweaking if we realize something needs to be changed, but in general, almost all design work, vector art, font choices, all of that stuff is all really solid now. And on the PC version of DaemonClaw, I've gotten back into making progress on that. So on the art side, we've now got all of the basic enemies and the sub-boss done for the final level, and I've actually started implementing that final art into the PC version, as well as polishing the gameplay for the final level, including the behavior of those enemies. So that is also making progress at the same time. And also, not that this is specifically for the PC side, but we talked to Alistair Brimble, the musician who was making the great soundtrack for DaemonClaw, and he wanted more info. We were able to provide him with some more visuals and description and stuff like that for the final boss fight, which is the last music that he needs to make to finish the soundtrack. So that is now underway as well. And that's about it for the update. Sorry we can't get into too much detail or show the new graphics we've been working on because it's stuff we don't want to spoil. And like I said, it's just most of the progress has been a huge amount of what we call tickets for bug fixing and all that stuff. So that was all to get this build ready to go. Basically, this is what it's going to look like on Steam for this first Megadrive version. And at first, it's only going to be the Megadrive version, but later on, we will also make the PC version and eventually the NeoGeo version, or at least the first X number of levels available for testing to backers. But just to give you a little more of a rundown of how this build is going to look and run through your Steam account, we could show you here that there are some pretty cool options. I love how nice and simple the controller mapping is. It's just you pick that option and immediately it just goes right into press your up, right, down, left, A, B, and C, and start, and boom, it's done. And just really elegant, really quick and easy. Great way to map any kind of USB-based controller you have. So that's really nice. And then the other thing people are probably going to find exciting, you could do the same thing for keyboard, obviously. And then just in the video settings, its default seems really nice. Oh, by the way, I did have to turn on full screen mode. It was annoyingly in windowed mode even when I clicked the maximize button on it.
Yeah.
So you actually have to specifically go into video settings and turn on full screen.
Right.
But then that was painless. And you just, when you're done, you just click the back button and your settings take effect. And so you can actually stretch. I definitely don't recommend that. But for those of you who prefer that for some reason, you can do that. But I definitely recommend you stick to 4.3. And then there's CRT, default, and smooth. I haven't even looked at smooth mode yet. You want to see what that looks like, Corey?
Sure, I guess.
This is the one that Corey
Scary.
and I would least likely choose. Wow, I don't really see much smoothing going on anyway. It's pretty subtle.
Yeah, it looks like it's just doing maybe like a slight blur.
Yeah, like rounding the edges
without
a
it being
tiny.
a full-blown, like, terrible bilinear filter
Yeah.
thing.
Like they took a
it's not bad.
super fine grit sandpaper and just rubbed the corners of the pixels a tiny bit. That's very subtle. Hold on a second. Let me get back into, yeah, it says smooth, so that's their smooth. And then the default, apparently their default is not CRT. Let's see what their default looks like.
Is it just the straight pixel art, basically?
I'm assuming so, yeah, just like really crispy pixel art. But yeah, it's shocking to me how much it looks like smooth. But I guess that's just because of our expert anti-aliasing to pat ourselves on the back. But right, so let's...
Well, it's nice to see that it looks great in all three modes.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, so you do have options. And then let's look one more time and go back to CRT. Resume. And yeah, it's just got some subtle scan lines now and a tiny bit more fuzziness, but very subtle. And
a little bit of that warping.
Shape
of the CRT.
Yeah, the fisheye
for
effect.
this one specifically.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can see here, Corey took this generic border that came with this emulation wrapper and added the DaemonClaw logo to the sides in a nice, tasteful way. It really does make me feel, it harkens back to the retro days of arcade cabinets and how they would have graphics around the actual screen.
Yep.
Sometimes it would be pretty gaudy with instructions on how to play and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's looks very tasteful.
Yeah, and I'm assuming that eventually there's the option to change that border if it wasn't in there already. But there are probably people that would like to play without a border and just have it black, which
exactly.
would be my own preference. But I do like this border. I like the way it turns out.
I was thinking the same thing. I'll have to talk to Neofit about that. They're the one that set this up. But that would be great to have a built-in feature to pick which border you want, and just pure blackness, and then maybe this frame with no logo at all, and then the logo. Maybe even for people that don't mind being distracted by the non-game related stuff on the edges of the screen, the full-blown gold logo and stuff. But I would never use it like that, because to me it would be too distracting. Like, I think you found a really nice, tasteful way to have the logo there without it being distracting at all. But anyway, so that's the actual build. So now we're going to segue into the section specifically for the backers among you who backed DaemonClaw on the Kickstarter and want to be a tester. We want to make sure you actually want to be a tester. So keep in mind, if you do volunteer to be a tester by the means that we're going to tell you, it's going to some degree or another, spoil the game for you. You're going to see and experience at least a decent chunk of the game over time if you continue testing. Of course, you can stop whenever you want to when future update builds introduce more levels. But keep in mind, you're going to be experiencing a work in progress before it's all really polished up. And for some few people, they don't mind that, and they love the ability to participate in helping to polish it up and find the problems. But if you just want to experience the game for the best without it being spoiled and just dive in when it's already been polished up, you probably don't want to be a backer. Not a backer. Please don't refund. You probably don't want to be a tester. But anyway, keep that in mind. Also, I always like to give this disclaimer because I've heard too many kind of horror stories of people with good intentions contributing to a creative product and how that can go wrong. So what we're really looking for is direct feedback of what you liked, what you didn't like, what was fun, what was frustrating, and obviously bugs. If you have an idea that you think is really cool, that's up to you if you want to make that suggestion, but we don't recommend it. If you have cool ideas, maybe keep it for your own future project if you're ever going to make something. Or just keep in mind, if you do offer an idea, you have to do it with the understanding that you can't expect any kind of credit or compensation for it, because all too often people end up saying, you know what you should do, and then they say something exactly what you were going to do or something insanely similar to what you were going to do. And then, like, people can get their kind of feathers ruffled either if you don't do their idea, they can be bothered, or if you happen to do something very similar to their idea, then a lot of people could suddenly feel like they deserve credit,
right?
Which is just untenable. If you've got a bunch of people offering a bunch of ideas, and many of them will overlap greatly with our intentions in the first place, it's just not feasible to deal with.
Especially with the project this far along. The mechanics for DaemonClaw have been, 90% of the way worked out, and all this stuff. So it's less about creative input at this point, and it's about if you're finding problems, or if something is too frustrating in the game, with the way enemies are moving or the way the powers work, the character controls. It's that kind of feedback we're mostly looking for.
Exactly. In the polishing stage, if something is frustrating or if there's an aspect of the gameplay you don't like, you don't even need to know why you don't like it. But especially if you end up recording your screen while you're playing, if we see that footage, and make sure you do not make that footage public, that'll be part of the end user license agreement and NDA. Basically, you'll have to agree with if you want to be a tester. Don't share any of this information, any screenshots, any video footage in any way that can end up in the general public. So obviously be careful with that. But the point is, that's really helpful to us because we're in our own heads. We design the game. We know exactly how we're supposed to play when we play it. We know everything ahead of time. So there could be blind spots where something is obvious to us because we invented it, but it could be very frustrating to a player. And we will learn if something is frustrating. Okay, we need to communicate something better to the player, give them better visual, audio, gameplay feedback so that they better know what they should be doing. Those are really the great things that we're looking for, aside obviously from just finding and reporting actual bugs, things that make the game go haywire or crash or glitch out in any way. In the credits, there will definitely be under testing or under special thanks for backers.
That's the closest we could ever come to.
Yeah, exactly.
That kind of thing, you know.
Exactly. The point is, though, the credit is generic, and we can't go into extreme delineation of thank this person for testing this thing,
Yes.
for this
Exactly.
feedback, for this idea. That's where it just becomes untenable, just unrealistic to work with, and greatly risks ruffled feathers, which is the last thing we want. We want people to play the game and enjoy the game.
Right.
And as Corey was saying, not only the gameplay mechanics, the character abilities, the plot, and, you know, the plot twists, we've got all of that worked out. But anyway, not to beat a dead horse, so to speak, or get repetitive. So that's the general disclaimer. So for those of you that are still interested in being a tester after that little speech there, what you're going to need to do is go back to the Kickstarter page of DaemonClaw that you backed. Just go to the fact question and click that ask a question or whatever it's called. Future Mike will put a screen grab on the screen so you could see what I'm talking about. And then when you send us the question, just say, I would like to be a tester. And as soon as Steam approves the playtest demo, then we have to get a bunch of Steam keys for them, specifically to grant access to this special test version. And we will reply to you through the Kickstarter, probably via email. I'm not sure exactly, but we'll get back to you with your own Steam key. Obviously, don't share that with anyone because that one key will only work once, and whoever uses it, they're a tester. I keep saying backer instead of tester. They're a tester, and that's how that's going to work, and we really look forward to your feedback. Also, we will almost certainly release another update for you backers pretty soon with instructions on how to actually send feedback, bug reports, and stuff like that. We've got to work out with NeoFid a way for people to submit those things so it's all in one place instead of like messages on Kickstarter and YouTube comments and stuff like that. There needs to be one place for everyone to give feedback on, and we'll get that figured out with NeoFid and give you guys some kind of update information to let you know how that's going to work.
Yeah, and keep in mind as another reminder, I think you mentioned this earlier, but if you're maybe less interested in specifically the Megadrive version, but you're looking forward to PC version or Construct version or the
NeoGeo version.
NeoGeo version, basically this is going to be that specific Steam access point for all of those versions as we update them in the future. Of course, we'll have those announcements down the road. But so even if you're interested in getting access but testing later, that's all great too. So
absolutely. Great point, Corey. And with that, that's pretty much the end of this video. And again, as always, thanks so much for your support. For those of you who decide to also be testers, thanks very much for that. That's going to be extremely valuable, and we really appreciate everything you've done to help us make DaemonClaw not only a reality, a successful Kickstarter, but to continue helping us to make it the best, most fun arcade-style game that we possibly can. Thanks, everyone, and we'll be back again soon.
if you enjoy our content and want to keep up to date on our games, please leave a like and subscribe. Also, if you want to support our projects, consider becoming a patron. The link's in the description, and we'll see you soon.